Processing into Facebook Live. So while we wait for that, let's see. Okay, it looks like we're live on Facebook, so we can get started. So I'll give a quick introduction. Thank you everyone for joining us here. I'm Robbie Mansfield. I'm the development manager at JDRF Orange County. I do a lot of outreach. I help in the community. Right now I'm doing ride and golf and everything that's going on. So I've kind of taken on a bunch of new roles. So if anyone wants to get involved in the community, wants to help with our outreach committee, wants to know, hopefully with our Type 1 Nation getting back up, wants to help plan Type 1 Nation, please shoot me an email. I'd be happy to talk to you and get you involved with us in the community, and we can touch base. So this is our second webinar that we've done. We're going to try to do them again every 2 weeks or so. And I'm pleased to have Joanne Milo with us, who is the author of Savvy Diabetic, very prominent person in the Orange County T1D community, very, very knowledgeable about all things, not necessarily just being prepared with type 1 for emergency situations, but really she can answer probably any question you may have about type 1 diabetes and especially technology and things like that. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Joanne. And just, I don't know if everyone's seen it in the chat, but if you have a question to ask for Joanne, please put it there or in the Q&A on the bottom, and I'll direct that to Joanne. And if you want to talk to her directly, there's an option to raise your hand, and I'll click on you, call you out, so you can talk to her directly over the intercom. So Joanne, take it away.
Thanks, Robbie. Boy, that's a lot of pressure. No, I don't know everything about everything. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in. This has been a passion of mine, and I'll explain a little bit more. I've had type 1 diabetes for over 55 years, which astounds me that I even have that number. And I haven't always been the very best diabetic. I think we can all say that. And so I don't want to hold myself up as some sort of model of good diabetes care. I do the best I can, as I think we all do. I think it's an extraordinarily challenging disease. It's nonstop. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. And I feel really compelled to try to help people do this better. And every day it's a new challenge. The reason I got involved with the sense of being prepared was after maybe 45 years of living with diabetes, I was quite aware that I never, ever, ever wanted to end up in the hospital. And I knew that if I ended up in the hospital, I would lose control. They would take over control, which when you're very, very, very sick is a good thing. But otherwise, it can put you at quite a bit of risk. And if you talk to anybody, any person with type 1 diabetes who's been in the hospital, you will hear some interesting and kind of frightening, kind of scary stories about how they don't always know how to manage diabetics. They don't know what to avoid. They're not even aware that there's a difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. And this is at the most prominent hospitals. So it really doesn't matter. What you need to do, and what is most important, is that you prepare yourself and you take care of you and help them understand how to take care of you. It's interesting, in diabetes, you are taught things to do to make sure you stay healthy, make sure you don't get complications, and make sure you don't die. That's not a very positive incentive. It is, you don't die, but it's a negative incentive. It's, I do this to avoid this. And if I talk to you about being prepared, it's somewhat similar. Yes, be prepared so that you don't have a problem. But on the positive spin, which of course I'm going to give you, is if you are prepared, then you have everything. You don't have to at last minute or under urgency try to figure things out. It's also an extreme kindness to anybody who's your advocate, because that person has everything he or she needs without having to figure out what items to grab from your diabetes toolkit. And thirdly, doctors really, really appreciate this, because they really get a snapshot of you instantly when they need that. So this is a good thing. And I can also say it can take less than 3 or 4 hours. It's easier than doing your taxes. And you get a tax return from this because you're taken care of well if you end up in the hospital, if you end up in an emergency situation, if you're at home and you can't do your regular thing, or on the positive side, the love of your life says, grab a bag, we're going to fly to Paris. And you grab your go bag and you go. You don't have to figure out what supplies to take. So that said, let's get into this and see how we can become really, really prepared type T1Ds or type 1 diabetic people. Okay, I'm Joanne, you know that. Let me get to this. Okay, so the question is, if not you, who takes care of you? Are you prepared for someone else to manage your health? If you're a child with diabetes, your parents manage your health. When you're an adult, usually we don't have someone else who's there to prepare to do it. We do our own. I do me, I know me, I do me better than anybody. But what if you can't? So what information would you want an advocate or a caregiver to have to take care of you, to take care of what you do, and who might be knowledgeable enough and trained to manage your diabetes? Interesting questions. You can ask them for yourself. Why is it so important? Okay, you could end up in the hospital. It can happen. Every time I've been in the hospital in the last 10 years has had nothing to do with diabetes. But the management of diabetes in the hospital was challenging. And it took a lot of effort to make sure the hospital staff, the doctors didn't make a mistake on me because they didn't understand my diabetes, didn't understand what I eat. They didn't understand about steroids in your IV bag. They just didn't pay attention to that. But the effect is on us. So you could end up in the hospital. You could be cognitively impaired just because you're on pain medications. So you might want to say to your advocate, hey, could you fill my pod for me? Or could you give me a shot or test my blood sugar? Because I don't think I'm thinking clearly. You could have an accident. You go hiking in the woods and you break your arm and you can't have the dexterity to fill your syringe or fill a pod. Or you could have severe hypoglycemia and you want someone to know what you need because you're not thinking clearly again. Lots of reasons that you might want someone else there to help you. So the way we're looking at it, and several of us have been working together to kind of see what it takes to be safe. There are 4 parts, and we'll start at the bottom. That's the base of it, is your personal medical resume, everything about you. It's kind of when you get to shine the spotlight on you and say, this is all about me. And we'll get into that in a minute. The second one is your T1D go bag, the thing you grab when you're going to the hospital or going to Paris. It's a thing you grab, it's ready to go, walk out the door. The third is advocates, the people that will support you when you can't. And the fourth is your T1D diet buddies, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So it's our team, I guess we'll talk about it now. Diet buddies are other people who have type 1 diabetes like you, who manage their diabetes in a similar intensity as you do, who are familiar with your technology and are willing and able to communicate with your spouse, your advocates, the hospital staff if necessary. So it's kind of a little extra network, an extra family. It's your diabetes family. Stepping backward, advocates are the people you list in your advanced healthcare directive. They're familiar with your medical history and your technology. They can communicate with your care team when you can't. The reason that comes into play is you're not okay. Someone needs to make decisions. And they can also interact with your diabetes, who will help them figure things out. So let's get into this now. Personal medical resume. This is a picture of mine. And it's I put it in a little binder and have lots of information. First of all, front page, I have type 1 diabetes. I am insulin dependent. So important. If you say diabetes, they don't always know you have type 1 diabetes. So it clearly states it. It gives essential information like your medications, your medical history, how you treat your diabetes, um, and it will also include your advanced healthcare directive. So everything's in one binder, ready to go. You bring it with you if you're at the hospital, put it out and say, please read this. And it basically says, please refer to these documents. This is all about you. Why do we do this? It can save your life. You can talk to probably any one of us in the diabetes community, and 50% of us have stories. I know Robbie Mansfield has lots of stories. I do too. So this document, this personal medical resume, speaks for you when you can't. It lets them look at it, go, okay, she needs diabetes, she needs insulin, she needs this, she needs that, she uses this. I understand her. She takes these medications. I know what she needs. You and your advocate will feel safer. We've been doing this in a small group in Orange County. And it's funny, we've all said, wow, this just feels easier, safer. And your doctors will appreciate it because they don't have to drag information out of you when you don't feel well. It's there. So we just covered that. We're just going to talk about today personal medical resume and T1D go bag. And if you guys want more, we could talk about T1D diabetes and advocates on another talk. So your toolbox is your personal medical resume, and I love it. It's all about me. Everything in one place, and then your T1D go bag, which you grab anytime. So this is on my front cover, in bold, in red. I don't know how to say it any clearer unless you could push a button and it would talk. It says it there. This is what's really critical about me. Even if you're treating me for appendicitis, this is important. Pay attention. This is the full cover page, which is the table of contents, which is what's in your little resume, in the little binder. And it's not that large and it's not that much to pull together. All of these forms are available on my website. We're beginning to build that as a place where you can go get resources. We're working on putting in editable forms so you can just take what's here and edit it the way you need to and put your binder together easily. I should also just do a little shout out to my little team of diabetes. So it's Glenn Weber, Cassidy Robinson, Sarah Goyo, Syra Gallo, and on the sideline is Kenny Fox. We've been really working on organizing all these materials. So in your personal medical resumes, contact information, everything about you, your advocate, your medical team, and your insurance. So you don't have to be digging or looking for that. It's good to include your most recent lab results so that they don't have to find where it was done and what's in it. A list of all of your medications, so what you're currently taking and when and where you take them. This is absolutely essential. I take medication that I take supplements that are magnesium for a hypomagnesemia problem where my magnesium runs low. In the hospital, the pharmacy people looked at it and said, it's a supplement, she doesn't need it. And they took it off my daily dose. And by the 4th day, I was in trouble. So you have to let them know what you can't be without. And that will help them and help the pharmacy people when they dispense your drugs. It's really good to have a medical history, just everything about you, every diagnosis you've had in chronological order. So if a hospitalist comes in and is trying to figure out who you are and what's happened, it's right there, one page. And then we have this letter that basically says everything about your diabetes. So diabetes, I take insulin dependent. You have to monitor my blood sugar. I use this way of managing my diabetes. I use a pump, take shots. My current rates, my settings are here. I have these other conditions that I also need to pay attention to. I have these allergies. it gives it all there, one page, and they can look at it and go, got it, I know what she needs. Okay, let's talk about the T1 diabetes, type 1 diabetes wristband. If you've ever been in the hospital, you'll notice they slap on a name tag, and they always come in and check your name tag to make sure they're dealing with the right patient. If you have allergies, let's say to penicillin, you'll have a wristband that says allergic to penicillin. So I've been asking, why don't we have a wristband for type 1 diabetes? It seems like the simplest thing, and we are such, we require that attention when we're not managing ourselves. And it just didn't seem, I was told it could kind of happen in a couple of years, and that just didn't make sense. So I ordered wristbands. I just went, designed my own, ordered them. I have a whole stockpile of them. I hope I never need them all, or even any of them. But I bought so many that I'm just selling them at my cost if anyone wants them. You put them in your personal medical resume. When you go to the hospital, you slap on a wristband. Anyone looks at your name tag, they will see right there that you have type 1 diabetes. It's the coolest safety feature, and it's available. Then there's a page on all your settings, all your meds, how you check your blood sugar. Again, these forms are available. And then I'd suggest you put in the Advanced Healthcare Directive, which you can download from the internet for whatever state you're in, or from your local hospital or your doctor or your lawyer. It specifies who's going to make decisions if you can't. And even if you're under pain medication and you're not thinking clearly, and it only requires 2 signatures for witnesses, doesn't need to be notarized. Really simple to do, shouldn't take more than 10 minutes. Really smart thing to have. So here's my little picture show. That's the front cover of my personal medical resume, and then the back cover are my little wristbands. It's right there, ready to go. So I've been talking about doing this little personal medical resume for a long time, and everyone says it's a great idea. But when I ask if they've done it, they kind of shake their heads and go, "Oh, I'll get to it. It's a great idea." So what's stopping you? Why don't we do this? We have a lot to do with diabetes. So I understand you already are tasked out, but if you say I'm too stressed now's the best time, because hospital staffs are pretty much at a breaking point. They try not to come into your room frequently because of the coronavirus. And you want to be as self-sufficient as you can and help them in the best way possible. I know you're already taking a lot of time to manage your health, manage insurance, manage your family, manage homeschooling, manage everything. This doesn't take that long. And it's just, you follow the recipe, do it, and you're done. In an emergency, you want your care staff to come up to speed like instantly. You want them to look at it, go, I got her, now let's go. Okay, so what do? The first thing is to say, yeah, I'm going to do this. So I can't hear all of you, but maybe you could say in a little voice, yeah, I'm going to make the decision to put together my personal medical resume. I can kind of almost hear it. Then download some lists, or ask me or ask Robbie, because they'll have the lists, and you're good to go. You can start, you can fill in forms. What do you do next? Clear a space, give yourself some room, a desk or whatever, and gather all the items, put them into a ring binder or a clasp binder, and make sure your name is very, very clear on the cover. So you put it there, that's it, read this. When you're done, what do? You brag. You tell all your T1D friends that you've done this. You tell your family, so they know that you've made them safer. You have bragging rights. Pay it forward. Help others organize theirs. Make this grow virally so everyone starts to be prepared. And it's important for T1Ds, but it's really important for everyone to have this. You never know what will happen. You never know if someone needs to step in. This is the easiest insurance you will ever get. Now what? I think I'll do the same thing. Take a breath. Inhale, exhale. You've done the first step. It's the basis of it all. So we'll move on to the next step, which is the T1D go bag. Okay, that's not us. Wouldn't it be cool? But, and we don't live in the wilderness, but we could end up living in the wilderness. But living with diabetes and ending up not being in control can be equally dangerous as any wilderness experience. So your T1D go bag is any bag, backpack, zipper tote, closable tote that contains 1 to 2 weeks of supplies of all your diabetes stuff, plus some personal toiletries that'll make you feel more human when you don't feel well, and your cables and batteries and backups. What you see here is kind of my layout of everything. I put everything in little baggies, I label them, and I have a spreadsheet, and you'll see that on our website. All your medical devices, backups with pumps, pods, pens, reservoirs, a week's supply. If you have room, 2 weeks supply, alcohol swabs, blood glucose meters and strips. The hospitals now are somewhat on short supply. Don't know why, but if you need to check your blood sugar, you shouldn't have to wait for a nurse to come in to do that. You should be able to do it for yourself. And I've had that happen. And I ask for a check. They say they'll be back in an hour. That's not the way I manage. So I just pull out my own meter. If you use CGM, and they're beginning to use CGMs in hospitals, both Abbott and Dexcom are donating or giving supplies to hospitals. And I've heard in Mount Sinai in New York, Mount Sinai Hospital in New York, they love CGM. If you are in the hospital, bring your receiver. What they will do is set your settings, your alert settings on high volume, and they very often tape them to the outside of your hospital door. And so any alert that you get from your CGM, they will hear it. And it's much safer. It's the alarm that you want them to pay attention. You'll need charging cables, USB plugs, power bank, whatever you use for your devices. You want to have a fast source of glucose. Again, you don't want to wait 20 minutes when your blood sugar is low. And they're just busy. They won't necessarily bring you, or they may have to go look for orange juice. Bring what you use, have it with you. I also suggest you bring your own insulin. Again, if you know you need insulin and they say, I'll be back in 4 hours, for me, that's not good enough. I want to have it there. It can stay out of the refrigerator for a month, so don't worry about refrigeration. And a 1 week of supply of all your medications, just a little pill box. Don't know if we'll have a picture of one of those, but just throw it in a pill box, maybe once every 6 months, swap them out, use those and refill it. Personal items, the toiletries, toothbrush, so anything you might need to make you feel human. Reading glasses or a spare set of glasses in case they didn't make it with you to a hospital or where you are. A notepad and pen or pencil, because you'll be hearing things and you want to be able to write your questions down. I also think it's not a bad idea to have $5 or $10 or maybe 20 stuffed in case you need someone to go get something for you. And you might want some underwear. Just kind of makes you feel more human. Is there anything else? Yes, you can throw in a teddy bear or a picture of your loved one. It's just something from home that makes you feel a little bit safer, doesn't take up a lot of space, but it makes you feel like you're going to be okay. Okay, so where do I find a list of what goes into the T1D go bag? Well, our little group of OC diabetes have created a list of what we think you might want to put in there, and you can customize it to what's important to you. Again, it'll be on my website. It will be available through JDRF. What else do you need to know? Any of your devices should have a name tag and who to call if they find it. In hospitals, things wander off. If you go to the movie theater and you drop your PDM out of your pocket, I've had this happen. I was at the movies, got home, and my CGM receiver was not on me. And someone had found it in the movie theater and called my husband and said, I found this thing that says critical medical device. Do you need this? And my husband went back to the movie theater. It's a name tag. It's a great thing. And I found name bubbles. By the way, I don't earn anything from any of this. I just ask all these companies that I like to give us good deals so that we can use these. These are waterproof labels. You can customize them. There comes in different colors and waterproof. They don't leak on your skin. They stay on. And right now, for anyone through Savvy Diabetic, they're offering a 20% discount through the end of August if you want to order these. I have them on every device, and it's just another safety feature. So what does it look like? Okay, here's an example of a bunch of our T1D go bags. It could be anything. It could be, this is your creative, this is where your creative side takes over. You get to design what you want it to be. And so this is a variety, and you can see everyone has kind of customized it any way they want. So you can make yours just special and what you need. So here's my go bag, and you can kind of see it's right over here. I also have a seatbelt alert that I found from a company in upstate New York. That's also on my website. And I slap it on the seatbelt in my car. I have it on my go bag. It can go on any tote that you have. It's just a little extra insurance that someone knows what you need. And I also have on here is, whoopsie, instructions that say, my insulin is in the refrigerator in the butter compartment. So if someone has to go to my house, grab my go bag, before they walk out the door, they're going to see that and go back to the refrigerator and get my insulin. I find that most people with type 1 diabetes keep their insulin in their butter compartment. So that could be a whole story in and of itself. So this is my bag and my mini go bag that's in the refrigerator, and my puppies, but they don't go in the go bag. They're just appreciating. So here's my challenge to you. Show me what you put together. Send me an email, send me pictures. Every month, if I can get you all to start making these bags, we'll put out a display of what your go bags look like. I think it's the greatest thing to do. I think you'll have it, you'll be done, and you can move on. Just share it with everybody else. Okay, so you're halfway through to being a savvy prepared T1D. And you're like, oh, there's more. It's just purely about advocates and type 1 or T1D diabetes. And maybe for another time, if JDRF wants, we'll talk about that and how do we identify who would be a good advocate, or how do you train someone to be a good advocate for you? And how do you form little groups of your own social network or diabetes network that's not just a social, tell me how frustrated you are, but I'm here to support you and your advocate, and it would be your diet buddy. So now's the time. You have time. It's Tuesday. By Sunday, can you do a personal medical resume and a T1D go bag, or by a week from Sunday? Until next time, please just stay safe, stay well. Ask me if you have any questions. It's a good project. Thanks, Robbie.
Yeah, thanks, Joanne, for all your information. I know I'll work with Joanne to be getting these links to her website that has, I posted one of them in the chat already, but we'll post the rest of them on our Facebook, and I'll also send them out in a outreach newsletter. So if you're not following our JDRF Orange County Facebook, make sure that you are so you can get those quickly. And if not, we'll be on the outreach newsletter. So I just want to add one thing too. And if you have any questions or anyone has any questions for Joanne, please ask them here and I'll get to them right away. But Joanne had mentioned at the beginning that I have a couple stories about this, and I don't want to go too far into or too long into it, but I've had type 1 for 18 years now, 17 years. and I never had any issues whatsoever. I never thought this would happen to me. I didn't have a go bag. I didn't have a directive. I didn't have anything, because why would I? I was a 21-year-old, 22-year-old kid, healthy, never had an A1C above 8, all the great things that, the token type 1 diabetic. And all of a sudden I was backpacking out in Utah. My insulin went bad and I went into DKA. So I ended up in a hospital in Las Vegas by myself with 2 friends that knew absolutely nothing about diabetes. Probably would have given me sugar if they knew I was passing out. My blood sugar was so high, because that's all they've known is to give me sugar if I'm not acting right. And I almost went into a coma and possibly could have passed away if it would have gone much further. And once that happened, I got a lot more, like what Joanne said, get more prepared, and I have a go bag and all the things that I need to. But I don't want anyone to ever think that it could never happen to me. It could never happen to my kid. It could never happen to my friend, because I'm living proof that it can. Freak accidents happen, and you don't want that to be the reason, because this takes, like Joanne said, an hour or 2 out of your day. We all have a lot of time right now at home where we can be organizing through. And like she also said, it's great for travel, because now I can just grab my travel bag, which is also my go bag, and separate things out without having to go through everything one-on-one.
It's an interesting thing. You don't, I was using the example, you don't want to do a go bag because you don't want to bring something bad to happen. That's kind of like bad karma, but it doesn't work that way. Anything can happen at any time. You just don't know, and being prepared doesn't mean it's going to happen. In fact, you hope it doesn't, but you can all hear stories. I've got a ton of them, and you just want not to have that add to the stress of your life right now. That's
Yeah.
it.
Well, I don't think there are any questions that I've seen come through. There's a lot of thank you to Joanne, very well prepared, very good information. So thank you so much for all of that, Joanne.
I think I threw a lot at you at one time. I understand I was trying to get this all fit in. If you have more questions, feel free to ask. We have a team of us looking at this saying, how do we get safer? And join us. Please send me pictures of your T1D go bag. I would love to share that with the world. Doesn't have to be your name. It's just show me your pictures.
Okay, so Cynthia raised your hand to ask a question. So Cynthia, I'm going to put you through. You're muted right now. You automatically are muted. So Cynthia, can you unmute yourself and then ask Joanne a question? Let's see. Okay.
Hi, Joanne. This is Cynthia. I've exchanged information with you over the last month or so.
Hi, Cynthia. Hi.
I appreciate all your input, and I was sorry, I'm very unfamiliar with Zoom, and it took me all this time to even get on. But again, my question is, as far as a patient advocate, I am having difficulty because I have no siblings. My mother's 94, and I lost my husband almost 3 years ago. So I do not have a patient advocate. And the one person that I did ask that has been a good friend for a number of years, also has type 1, but she was unwilling. Now, I don't know if...
Okay, Cynthia, let me just give you some feedback, because I know we've talked, and that's a significant issue. And I've actually been talking to some people to see how do we start a program, because as we age, our advocates who we've had all our lives aren't necessarily there as we get older. And so how do we set up? And certainly type 1 T1Ds are living longer than they ever thought they would be. So we're coming on like gangbusters, and there will be a need to do support. So hang tight, because we're trying to figure that out. I agree it's an issue. Hang tight, we're working on it.
Well, I appreciate it. As I say, it just, with my husband's passing, became more, I mean, I have someone as far as my healthcare directive and what have you, but she is not familiar, you know, with really, I'm trying to put things together, you know, to educate her, but still, you know, it's
No, it's a big challenge. Sit tight. We're working on it. It's a big issue, and we're trying to shine the light on what that is, because it will become a larger and larger problem as the T1D population ages out.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate, you know, all that you have given me so far. I'm about halfway through your book. It took me a little while to get, Amazon took a few weeks to get that to me. So I'm in the process of reading it.
Good job. Thank you, Cynthia.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Cynthia, for sharing. Richard, you raised your hand as well, so let me give you the floor. So let's see. Unmute you. Richard, it looks like you're on mute. I'm trying to, oh, there you go, Richard. So you're unmuted, Richard, so go ahead. You have the floor.
You hear me?
Yep.
Well, this is Richard from Richard and Joanne. The go bag is also good in case you live in earthquake country, or if there's a fire, or if there's a flood, or if you just want to run away to the Indian casino for the weekend, you can grab your go bag. So it's not only for going to the hospital. It's in case there's any emergency where you have to leave suddenly, or someone out of town is sick and you have to go, grab your go bag. You're ready to go. That's all.
Thanks, Richard.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times that I've forgotten one or two minor things. When I would have had my go bag packed, it wouldn't have been an issue. So yeah, that's a great tip. All right. Unless there's any more questions, we're going to wrap this up. I don't see anything else coming through. If you do have any questions in the meantime, or want to talk to Joanne more, head over to her website. I'll post that on our Facebook too, and you can just Google the Savvy Diabetic and it'll come up. But if you have any questions, please comment on our Facebook Live posts that will be up on our JDRF Facebook. We'll make sure to answer any of those. And with that, I just want to say thank you again, Joanne. Do you have any last words or anything else you'd like to say?
No, I just really appreciate the opportunity. I think this is important, and I hope we all start to do this and it spreads out, so we as a community feel safer. It's tough enough dealing with diabetes. Doing anything that can make you feel safer. I wish I could promise you an ice cream sundae for doing it, but, and what the heck, if you do this, do both of these items, treat yourself to something good. You deserve it.
Great. Well, I could use some ice cream today, so I will make sure to send my picture over to you, Joanne. Just so everyone, if you have the go bag or you haven't, or you want to do it, I think that'd be a great collage that we could put together as all of our go bags. So it'd be a good thing to share with our community.
Thank you, Robbie. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks again, Joanne, and everyone keep an eye out for our next meeting. There's nothing scheduled yet, but it'll be in about 2 weeks, and we'll have that posted, and we'll see you all there.
Bye-bye.
Great. Thank you, everyone.